going on, everybody? Puck Buds episode number 8 is coming at ya. A special one today because we're going to be previewing the Hockey East. Of course, there was one men's series that took place this past weekend, but most were canceled. So, we decided to wait until this week to release the episode. After the preview, we'll get into the Adidas retro reverse jerseys, and we'll do another position ranking. We did defense last time. This time, we're going to do centers. But first, let's dive into the preview. UMass and UConn kicked off the Hockey East regular season this past weekend after every other series was postponed out of abundance of caution for COVID-19. Friday's game was a 5-1 victory for the 7th-ranked Minutemen. The contest was close throughout the first two periods before UMass put the game on ice with 3 goals in the third period. Saturday's action, this time in Storrs, Connecticut, was an instant classic featuring the newly implemented 3-on-3 overtime and shootout rules. UMass jumped out to a 2-0 lead before UConn scored 2 in the final 10 minutes, including a shorty after the Minutemen killed off a 5-on-3 Husky power play. In overtime, UMass thought they had the game won on a Colin Felix goal, but a too many men on the ice penalty gave UConn an extra life, which they took full advantage of thanks to a Cale Howarth shootout game winner. Saturday's game will officially go into the books as a tie, but neither game will go towards the Hockey East standings. But what about the rest of the conference? I posted my men's preseason poll on the Twitter page last week, so I'm going to break down that and preview each team before giving my picks for all conference, as well as who I think will win the league and the Most Outstanding Player award. So, let's get started. The clear favorite this year in the conference is Boston College. Jerry York's squad returns a lot of talented players, headlined by forward Alex Newhook and goalie Spencer Knight. Both Newhook and Knight look like surefire NHLers, if not NHL stars. They should both compete for the Hockey East Player of the Year award, if not the Hobey Baker. Knight in particular is as solid of a goalie prospect as we've seen in a really long time, and with him in the net, the team has a chance to win every single night. No pun intended. He sported a 23-8-2 record a season ago and was a unanimous selection to the All-Rookie team. They were the Hockey East regular season champs a year ago, and after a sluggish October, only lost 6 of the last 29 games, which includes 2 streaks of 8 or more wins. Newhook was one of the hottest players in the country to close last year and finished on a 12-game point streak. He led the nation in goals by a freshman with 19 and had 20 points in 9 games during the month of February. There is no doubt that the Eagles lost a lot of good players to graduation, including captain David Cotton, Julius Modela, Ben Finkelstein, and Graham McPhee. But the return of Newhook and Knight, along with Matt Boldy and Logan Husko, has this team in position to not only win the Hockey East Championship, but to win a national championship as well. The team second in this poll, and you saw why this past weekend, is the UMass Minutemen. UMass is as strong a puck possession team as there is in the country, and combine that with a stellar 1-2 goaltending punch in Philip Lindbergh and Matt Murray, along with a stout defense, and UMass becomes a legitimate national championship contender. It's the 5th year for head coach Greg Carvel, and he's successfully turned one of the worst programs in Hockey East into one of the best. Rangers defensive prospect Zach Jones is back after a big freshman campaign, and fellow left shot D-man Mark Del Gaizo should be healthy after an injury-plagued 2019-2020 season. If Del Gaizo plays the way he did as a freshman, granted he was playing with a guy named Cale Makar, the Minutemen top 2 defensive pairings, along with Matthew Kessel and Colin Felix on the right side, is as good as any in the country. This creates a real problem for opponents, considering UMass has been one of the leaders in shots on goal under Carvel. The question for this team is consistent goal scoring. They had some real struggles in that area last year, past the month of January, other than John Leonard, who led the conference with 27 goals. Leonard is gone, as is 2019 All-Conference first-teamer Mitchell Chafee. They returned senior forward Oliver Chow and junior Bobby Trevino, And Jones, Delgado, and Kessel have all shown the ability to provide offense from the back end. Still, though, I think it's likely they'll struggle a little bit unless one of their newcomers can pick up some of the slack that was left after Leonard's departure. They have the personnel to do that and have also had some success with graduate transfers in the past, most notably Jacob Pritchard in 2019. Look for Garrett Waite and Carson Jasevic to help in that area. Both had goals in the weekend series against UConn. The third team in the poll is UMass Lowell. Head coach Norm Bazin has created a well-oiled machine that has cranked out solid hockey team after solid hockey team in his decade coaching the Riverhawks. If you want an NHL comparison, think the Columbus Blue Jackets. Tough, gritty, team built on defense. In 1920, Lowell received plenty of scoring up and down the lineup, with no player exceeding 24 points, but 11 players going over the 10-point mark. They returned 83% of their point scorers, including their three leaders, Matt Brown, Carl Berglund, and Andre Lee, which is the second highest percentage of any team in the nation. They returned 80% of their goal scoring, which is good for third in the country. The challenge for the Riverhawks, that finished third in the conference a season ago, is replacing goaltender Tyler Wall. Wall started games throughout his 4 years at the Saugas and is the program's all-time leader in wins. Sophomore Logan Neaton played in 3 games a season ago, and he could be pushed by freshman Brendan Welsh for the starting net spot. If Wall was back, they would likely be the favorite to win the conference. Some teams have done a good job of replacing star goalies, while others have struggled. If Lowell can do it, the rest of the conference, if not the rest of the country, will be put on notice. Checking in at number 4 is the BU Terriers. The Albie O'Connor era hasn't gotten off to the best start by program standards, following a 6th place finish last year and a 5th place one the year before. But I would argue the team last year was a lot better than their record indicated. The problem? They were hampered by bad goaltending. That shouldn't be a problem with freshman Drew Comesso, who is ranked as the conference's second best goalie on Hockey News' 100 college hockey players to watch in 2020-21. The team will miss superstar freshman Trevor Zegras and senior captain Patrick Curry and fellow senior Patrick Harper, but they should be able to make up for that with new talent, which includes Luke Tuck, Alex's brother, and former Providence Friar Jay O'Brien. The returners are highlighted by Player of the Year candidate defenseman David Ferentz, who notched 43 goals in 34 games from the back end last year, and sophomore Robert Mastrosimone, and senior Logan Cockrell, who should fill in some of the void in leadership following the departure of the two Patricks. Replacing 3 of the team's top 4 scorers is never easy, but with the returners expecting to take on a bigger role as well as some stability in the cage, this could be the year that BU makes the tournament for the first time under its third-year head coach. Some are going to say this is too high based on a couple of teams that have not been ranked yet, but the team checking in at number 5 is the Connecticut Huskies. Aside from BC, I bet UConn was the team people across the conference least wanted to play in the Hockey East playoffs. It's a shame that we couldn't see their opening showdown with Maine last year up in Orono. The program as a whole appears to be on the up and up. They plan to open a new on-campus arena with construction set to begin this April, but the question is how high the up can be. On paper, they seemed like a really elite team. They have the star power with the return of Carter Turnbull and Vlad Firstop. On Friday, they skated on the third line along with stud freshman Artem Schlane. The fact that coach Mike Cavanaugh was able to put the trio on his third line is a testament to how good his forward group is. It was certainly just for matchup purposes, but it shows how much depth the team has. Junior forward Johnny Evans is a prototypical college hockey player, and forward Jakob Kondalik and UMass killer Cale Howarth provide size that's also more than capable of chipping in offensively. The graduation of Benjamin Freeman and departures of Ruslan Ishikov are significant, but those are a part of the sport, and nothing UConn shouldn't be able to overcome. The return of Nashville prospect Tomasz Stromaka stabilizes the goaltending position. The Huskies should be more than capable of making their first NCAA tournament appearance in program history. Coming off what many in the program would have called a disappointing year, the Friars are looking for a bounce back in 2020-21. Providence returns 82% of its goal scoring from a season ago when they finished tied for 7th in the conference. But the story of this year's team starts with who isn't coming back, the nation's leading scorer, Jack Dugan. The Dugan loss is undoubtedly a big one, as not only did the Vegas product provide excellent scoring, he was gritty and a difficult player to play against. And while that loss isn't going to be an easy one to overcome, they have plenty of firepower coming back, highlighted by Dugan's two classmates and fellow All-Hockey East selections, defenseman Michael Callahan, who was named to the first team, and forward Tyce Thompson on the second. Thompson's 44 points was good for third in the nation, and Callahan's were good for second among conference D-men. Thompson and Callahan won't be alone in making up for Dugan's absence, as the Friars returned 3 players who had over 20 points, and senior Jason O'Neill, who had 13 in 23 games. Graduate transfer Anton Martinson should be in line for the start in net after a career at the University of Alaska. Northeastern comes in at number 7, which is a little lower than where they finished in the coaches' poll. The reason? The team's been a bit of a shell compared to what they were in past years in the Adam Gaudette years. Yes, Gaudette won the Hobey Baker, so maybe that's not fair, but I get the sense that teams aren't nearly as afraid to play the Huskies as they once were. Yes, they won their 3rd straight Beanpot last year and were ranked for most of the year despite finishing in 7th in the conference standings. But it seems like at times they leaned too heavily on uber-talented forward Tyler Madden, similar to how UMass leaned on John Leonard, but I guess not to that extreme. But Madden signed his pro contract, so the question will be whether or not they can replace his production. What is good for Northeastern is that their core is pretty young, anchored by sophomore Aiden McDonough and junior defenseman Jordan Harris. They shouldn't lack leadership either with senior captain Zach Salo, who is the pinnacle college hockey captain. The 2020 Beanpot MVP had 31 points last year and should be in for another big year. People, including Team Canada's World Junior team, are high on freshman goalie Devin Levi. It's been a bit of a tough go for the last decade for UNH, who checks in at number 8. The Wildcats haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2013, after making it 10 years in a row from 2002 to 2011 under legendary coach Dick Umili. This year's team is veteran-led and returns most of its core, minus noticeable departure Max Gilden. Mike Robinson is back to man the crease after a solid season the year before. The team returns 84% of its goal scoring, which is second in the nation, and 76% of its point scoring, and most of the players are juniors and seniors. Agnes Cruikshank might be their best returner, tallying 16 goals a season ago, but seniors Charlie Kelleher, Patrick Grasso, and Benton Moss aren't too far behind. I'd be more confident about the Wildcats if Gilden would return to quarterback their power play, but the core of the team has been playing together a long time, and experience is important in Hockey East. The question for them is firepower and whether they will be able to keep up with the more talented teams in the conference. My guess would be no, but they'll certainly be able to compete like they did a season ago. Like I said when I talked about UConn, it's a shame the Black Bear Huskies series couldn't happen last year. I think people saw Maine's success a year ago and attributed it to Jeremy Swayman alone. Swayman was no doubt a main reason of it, but that team had some solid players. The problem for this year's team? Most of them graduated. The departures of Tim Doherty and Mitchell Fossier are probably too much for this team to overcome, at least this season. Ed Trailmox is their leading scorer returning from last year. He'll likely have to pick up the slack from Doherty and Fossier, as well as Adam Daw and Jacob Schmidt-Schvedstrup. J.D. Greenway, brother of former BU Terrier and current Minnesota Wild Jordan Greenway, and his 6'5 frame should provide some thump on the back end. This is a contract year for head coach Red Gendron, and with a 100, 126, and 30 record, a 9th place finish in the conference might not be enough to get him an extension. Checking in at number 10 is Merrimack. Merrimack will be a better team than they were in 1920. The problem is, at least from a record standpoint, they couldn't be much worse. But I would argue they weren't as bad as their record indicated. The big issue was in the net, and freshman Zachary Borgel should provide a little bit of stability at the position. Had they had him last year, their record probably wouldn't have been so bad. Jordan Seifert, Chase Grisak, and Logan Drevich made for a pretty solid top line that can score some goals, and their defense is anchored by Zach Ewens, who might be the highest rated prospect in program history. Alex Jeffries is another high-end recruit who will make his debut for this team during the fall. Merrimack head coach Scott Borek expects his team to play fast in 2020-21. They should have the guys at the top of their lineup in order to do that, but there's still a clear talent gap between the bottom 3 teams in the conference versus the top 8, which should halt any chance Merrimack has of making any sort of noise, barring the 2 or 3 tight games they play a year with the big boys. A Lawler, though, is always a home ice advantage. The team checking in last in the standings is Vermont. The Catamounts had a dismal 2019-20 campaign, finishing in 11th, behind Merrimack by 9 points. Their goal differential was minus 39, and they only scored 44 goals the whole year. But there is hope in Burlington, and that hope is new head coach Todd Woodcroft. Woodcroft spent the last 4 seasons as an assistant for the Winnipeg Jets and has been in the NHL since 2000. Former NHL assistants have had some success in the Hockey East, most notably Greg Carvel with UMass. But as for UVM in year 1, expect some struggles. With the exception of Norm Bazin and UMass Lowell, almost every coach struggled year 1 in the conference. It's mostly because the players on the team are from previous regimes, and a lot aren't back after the coach's first year. Nate Lehman went 14-20-4 in his first year as Providence head coach. 4 years later, he won the national championship. Carvel only won 5 games in his first year, cleaned house, and by his third, his team was in the national title game. That sort of success can't be guaranteed for Vermont, especially since Woodcroft has never coached in college hockey before, and therefore has never had to recruit. But he told the College Hockey News that that's not really a worry of his and believes that the scouting he's done at the professional ranks is similar. Hopefully he's right and can turn around a team that has one 6th place finish since it made the Frozen Four in 2009. So most of the selections for the All Hockey East team were fairly easy, starting with goaltender Spencer Knight. The guy is a stout anchor to a great BC team. Defensively, it's David Ferentz from BU and Michael Callahan from Providence. Both were on last season's first team, so there's really no reason to think that they won't be on this year's one. Up front, Alex Newhook was an easy call. He's a poor man's Nathan McKinnon. Tyce Thompson is another easy pick. Second in the conference in scoring, and he'll need to pick up without Jack Dugan, and I think he's capable. If he could do that and Providence has a better season, Thompson could win Player of the Year. The third is Zach Salo from Northeastern. He's a great captain and had a career year last year. Without Tyler Madden, he'll need to step it up, and the young Huskies core will lean on him for leadership. For winning the conference, I have BC. It seems like it's been a while since a Jerry York team won the conference, and while they definitely lost a lot from last year's club, they have the talent to make up for it. Player of the Year, I think it's between Knight and Newhook. Usually, the MVP goes to the best player on the best team, if that team is far and away better than the rest of the competition, and I think BC is capable of being that team this year. With that said, I'm leaning more towards Spencer Knight. Because of all the studs up front with Newhook, I think they could take some of the spotlight away from him. If a player not on the first team wins it, look out for one of the players on UConn. I think they're bound to surprise many people, and similar to what happened with Jeremy Swayman and UMaine a season ago, voters like to give all the credit, or at least a lot of the credit, to one guy. Vlad Firsthoff or Carter Turnbull are dark horses to win, as well as some of the uber-talented Friars not named Thompson and Callahan. Either way, Hockey East is back, and like every year, this one should be wild. So, let's go. Switching to the other news of the week, Adidas released their Reverse Retro 3rd jerseys on Monday. Dylan's a pretty big uniform guy, and I know it's only been me talking so far, so now's the best time to shut up and give him the floor. I'm sure you have some thoughts. I'm not sure if you want to talk about your favorites, talk about your least favorites, or just thoughts on the jerseys in general, but have at it.
Yeah, so first of all, I already made a list of all 31 ranked. And
Okay, prepared.
Yeah, I did it just for myself. I love this type of thing. I love the jerseys, but well, I love jerseys in general. These ones, personally, I think had some big misses. I'll get into those in a second, but the concept I think is cool. The league needs to make money. I'm glad to see them doing something to engage their fans because they're not really the best at this type of thing. And yeah, so the ones that really stand out to me, I'll give my top five. I really like the Washington Capitals. I think it's clean. I think it's obviously a nod to what they've done in the past when they had the Screaming Eagle on the jersey with Ovechkin on the cover of NHL '07. So I think they're a pretty clean look. I like the jersey layout in general, but the old colors never quite did it for me. I thought it was a weird scheme. A lot of people like it, but yeah,
The
I really like
Washington
this with the solid red.
Washingtons. I don't know. I think I like the eagle, but I don't get the colors, and
Yeah,
there also looks like there's too much going on. The eagle looks too
right.
big.
I've
Maybe
never
that's just on the model jersey, but
Yeah, I've never quite seen that scheme together on anything else. I don't know. What do you have for your number one? Like, which one
well,
stuck out to you
so
as a good
I
one?
first got to say that I completely agree with what you're saying. How it seemed like it was a sort of a wasted opportunity. I looked at these. I was excited for them. I mean, they were getting hyped up, and the NHL has had a really good track record of making some pretty sick Winter Classic jerseys, and he's sort of those have always are always sort of a nod to the past as well. So I thought that this was going to be like those, but these just for me they were just so underwhelming. They really were. I mean, I didn't really like any of them. I think my favorite was well, I shouldn't say that. Some of them were good. Some of them were good, but
Yeah, but
a lot of
31
them,
of them came out.
yeah, and they just I don't know, just across the board. Just I'd give them across the board maybe a C minus or a D plus for the whole league. But I will say my favorite one was Colorado. I thought that was sick looking,
Okay.
and yeah, I really like the color scheme, and the Nordiques logo was pretty cool. I understand why people are pissed that they use the Nordiques logo. I get that completely, but from a pure jersey standpoint, I love it, and it doesn't look when they wear the sort of Nordiques uniforms, it doesn't look as sort of out of place as when Carolina wears the Hartford Whalers jerseys,
Right.
which
At least
looks
their colors
wrong.
are kind of close.
Yeah, it just looks wrong.
Yeah,
So
so I really
that's my
liked
favorite.
Colorado's as well. It did not crack my top five, but I like the setup on it. I think it's such a classic look. The N, I've actually been to Quebec City. The N in the middle of the jersey is this it's this arch that you got to walk through to get into the city. So it has that kind of creative touch to it that's specific to the city. I love when teams throw in something small like that, kind of like the flag. I'm sorry, the state of North Carolina inside the two flags on the Hurricanes jersey. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Very small touch, very small touch. But yeah, I really like the Colorado slash Quebec one. But second on my list, as bold as it might sound, I got Vegas. I know that there were a lot of issues with this one. A lot of people were saying, how can they even have a reverse retro? But the thing is, my argument to that is if you look at a lot of these jerseys, a lot of them just kind of made something new altogether as opposed to being a real retro.
Or just use the third logo that's on the shoulder.
Right, right. So with Vegas, I mean, I think they're so clean. Personally, I've always loved the touch of red in their uniforms. I remember when they first came out, a lot of people thought it was very unnecessary, and it definitely was kind of unconventional to have the setup with the dark gray, the gold, the white, and then the little bit of red on the sleeves. But I always kind of like that touch of red. I think it brings it all together, and having that nice that third alternate logo on the chest with the I think it's two swords crossing each other, something
Hmm.
like that. I think it's a real clean look. So
I
I
like
got
Vegas
Vegas.
too. I like
I got
Vegas
Vegas
too.
at number two. So who do you have for second?
So I didn't really rank these in specific order. I just picked five that I liked, five that I didn't like. So I do like Vegas's. Also, sort of a similar vibe as Calgary. I like that black and the horse in the middle. I think that that's a pretty cool logo. Um, I had the Kings. I think the Kings sparked a little bit of controversy. I like the color scheme. I think that the purple and yellow is so synonymous with LA, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers right now. The Kings
Yep.
used to wear it, and I think that that's a pretty fresh jersey as well.
Okay,
So
nice. Yeah, I
those are
like
two
the
of the
LA. I
colors.
like the to me the colors are the most important thing of any jersey, and I think they really got to pop. And I think that the yellow and the purple, I mean, first of all, I think they're aesthetically pleasing, but second,
Yeah,
it
they
just
are.
reminds me of the Lakers.
Yep,
And
they're
but
good.
like I said earlier, I like when teams give a little nod to their home city, and I think the Kings really do that in their jersey. Coming in at number three for me, this one sparked quite a bit of controversy online, as did this whole list, by the way. Let me say that.
Yeah, no, that's
I
true.
have never seen more disagreement online. Like someone else's top 10 will be somebody else's bottom 10. And I guess that's just the way things like this go. Everyone has their own sense of what's good when it comes to fashion. But anyway, I got Arizona at number three.
I like
I
the
know
Arizonas.
I know that's bold. I know it's unconventional. And in a way, it kind of throws out my traditional criteria. It's pretty busy at the bottom. It has the cactuses on that Arizona background. But to me, it's like it exceeds my standards in a weird way by so much that I actually kind of like it and I give it a free pass because I think they made it work with that special color purple that I think looks real sharp and that Aztec style look that you can see across the whole jersey. I've always loved how Arizona's kind of gone with that theme.
Well, the top of the jersey isn't busy at all. So it's just
Right.
sort of the logo and then the purple jersey, which sort of allows or sort of I guess attracts the eye to the bottom of the jersey where there's a lot going on.
So
Oh, I was gonna say I like St. Louis.
okay, nice, nice. I like that one too. That just missed my top five.
Yeah, it's sort of a classic look.
Yeah, and when I see that red on the Blues jersey, it reminds me of that Gretzky era. If you want to
Oh yeah,
qualify it
yeah.
like
However
that.
many years he played in St.
Yeah,
Louis.
I don't even think it was 1 year. I think it
Yeah.
was a deadline deal, and then he got shipped out to New York. I think it was like 19 regular season games or something like that.
Wow.
But another one I liked, I like Columbus. I think I like that bright red crest. I shouldn't say crest. I guess base. It looks very similar to the Caps in really both the colors and the way it's set up. The colors are really identical to the Caps, so I guess it's no surprise that I like both of them. They also have that old school CBJ in the middle. The let me what have they had recently for the Blue Jackets? They have that star in the middle, right, with the C kind of.
Jeez,
Let me see if I can.
I can't picture
Yeah,
their
but
uniform without looking at it.
yeah, but they have their OG logos. I like it. I think it looks cool. They have that blue belt line. One thing I don't quite like is the white
Oh, I
shoulders.
hate the white.
I
Oh, I
think
hate the
see
white.
that's
That
my
ruins
one
the jersey
critique.
for me.
To me, that it's like what I said about the Kachina. If I could change a couple things, it would be a home run. And this one is the same deal. If I could change one thing, it's that the white shoulders have to go. The
Yeah.
shoulders get a lot of attention when you're
Yeah.
looking at a jersey.
Yep.
I feel like subconsciously your eyes are kind of drawn towards the shoulders in a way. And I think they could have really done a lot more, but still, I like what they did.
Yeah. I think that the shoulders and that bottom white stripe completely ruined the jersey. That's why
That
I
weird
don't.
little tiny one above the blue one, and then there's also that weird little red one below the blue. You see that between the
Yeah.
white and the.
It's it that. I mean, I feel the same way about Toronto and Tampa Bay too. I think that the shoulders and the bottom stripe completely ruined the jersey.
Did you hear what people were saying about the Toronto jersey? I picked up
No.
on it myself before I
Nope.
even heard. The logo's too big. The leaf is way too big. It's bigger than all their other leaves that they've had, and it takes up a weird amount of room on the chest. And it's to me, it just yeah, I don't know. I don't really like the sleeves on the Toronto one either. I think they tried something pretty cool with the silver and the blue, but
Oh, they're silver. That's right.
yeah,
That's weird.
yeah. I
They're
mean, I
not
think it.
silver. They're blue and white. That's their colors. Why would you make it
Yeah,
silver?
but yeah. See, that's the thing is like silver, if anything, wouldn't be retro to me. I mean,
No, not
I don't know,
really.
but I mean, the Maple Leafs have all this history, and they did something. I mean, whatever. It's the Maple Leafs. You never know what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
But so you have what's another good one you like?
So I have the last good one. I think I'll throw Montreal in there. I liked Edmonton. I just thought it was sharp.
Mm,
Um, and like I said, I was scrapping for them. I was scrapping for jersey for which ones that I actually liked because they were
yeah.
I don't know they were kind of rough.
So
Um,
you is that all you could scrap together?
all
'Cause
the
I know you.
positive. I'm ready to
All
get
right,
negative. I'm ready
all
to get
right.
negative.
my final one that I like, I'll do it quick, was the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
Real simple. They didn't do anything too crazy.
I don't like
It's
the
just
logo. I don't like the logo.
the new logo. Okay, the new logo looks almost exactly like the one they had in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, I read this hilarious article and it breaks down how off the new logo is in terms of
Yeah.
graphic design. Have you heard about this?
No.
All of the anchor points are completely unaligned and like there's all these little like random curves that aren't supposed to be there. It looks like an amateur put it together.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. I'll find a picture after this and maybe I'll tweet it out there on the
Yeah.
account. But
Yeah, you should.
anyway,
It's great.
I think they look clean. I think all their jerseys right now are real sharp. I like black and red together. The logo, aside from those little minor things, I'm not too hard on it. I think it looks cool. And one thing I like that when jerseys do is when they try to use just two colors as much as possible. And their new home jerseys do that. They have the red stripes on the sleeve, but they're not outlined in white, which is what you typically see on jerseys. They're usually outlined in some color. And these new reverse retros, for those who haven't seen them, they're very similar to their new home jerseys, other than the base is red. There are two black stripes on the arm with no white outline, which again I think looks sharp. And then they have that new logo with all of the graphic design errors in the middle. So I think it looks pretty sharp. And yeah, I look forward to showing you a picture of that article. It was hilarious. So those are my top five. I got Washington, Vegas, Arizona, Columbus, and Ottawa in that order. I know yours weren't in order, but those are mine.
Yeah, I had Colorado, LA, Calgary, St. Louis, and Edmonton. But
Okay.
it's time to get negative because
Yeah,
there
this one
was.
will probably be even more fun. I bet you're waiting to do this, so I'll let you go first.
All right. I don't know if I just want to do one at a time or just drop them all because I just want to yell at them all. I guess
I
I'll
don't know,
do.
if you dropped like five of these at the same time, that would be too much ugliness for my
That's
mind to
fair
process
enough.
at
Fair
once.
enough. All right. Starting with I don't know if this is number one ugly, but it has to be a contender. Dallas. Whoa.
Okay, yeah.
Come on. Those I mean Dallas, that is like all white. It's all white. You can't have an all white jersey. I mean,
No.
look at the lettering. The stars is written in white. How are you supposed to see that? The numbers are outlined in white. It's like
Yep.
during the game, you're literally not going to be able to see anything. It's like they just took the original jerseys that they had in Dallas, and they Minnesota North Stars had them for a while too, and they just made all of the colors, all of the sections white, and it's like,
Yeah.
why?
There are certain jerseys for me, this is one of them, where I wonder how a group of so-called professionals sat down at one table together and took out a drawing board and said, "This is it. This
Yeah,
is what we're gonna go with."
this is the final product.
Yeah. So yeah, you got Dallas as your worst.
Yep.
For the worst ones, you're definitely splitting hairs.
That's
because-
true. No,
Yeah.
the other one, the number two, it's between two of them. And
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you have the same ones.
oh yeah.
I bet your number two is my number one because I got Detroit.
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
I know. I bet I do know which one you have then.
Oh, it's
I
not
bet
that
I know
hard to
exactly
figure it
which
out.
one it is. I
But
bet I know exactly which one. So I got Detroit. Looks like they forgot to do it until like 10 minutes before the deadline, and someone said, "Well, wait a second, aren't there 31 teams?" And then some other guys said, "No, I thought there were 30." And then they said, "No, we only made jerseys for 30 out of the 31." And they said, "Oh, geez, we got to make one in like 20 minutes." And then they made the Red Wings one.
no,
So,
no. I hear you on that. Look, the
Yeah.
Red Wings one is boring. It's painfully boring.
yeah,
But at least they didn't mess it up.
right.
Like the other ones, they just straight up messed up.
And when you're an original six team, you notice that they don't take too many chances. They always, like Montreal, Toronto, usually the Bruins too. They typically stick with one theme, especially the Canadian teams like Montreal and Toronto, and the Rangers too. They've always had that theme. So I'm not surprised to see Detroit not do anything outlandish, but it's just too dull for me.
Yeah, it is dull. It is dull.
I just don't know. Same with Dallas, which is my spoiler alert. That's my next one, as I already said. It doesn't pop in any way, shape, or form, and I just don't think going with a kind of a light gray will ever work on TV because you
No,
can't
no,
even
no.
see it. It just
No, you
looks
can't.
like more white.
Yep.
All right, so I've given my first two. I got Detroit at the worst, and then Dallas. I'm almost positive I know you're number 30, but let's hear it.
All right, Anaheim.
Yeah, that's
Oh
what I
my
think.
God, what the hell is
It's really
that?
to me
What
it
the
was
hell
down to
is
those two.
that? I mean, that logo is it's indescribably bad. It's indescribably bad. It looks like somebody like took like a colored pencil and like drew the logo on it. It looks like somebody did a freehand on the jersey. It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. No, no. It looks like it would be in like a children's coloring book, and you have to color in the lines and
I
color
don't
the
mean to
color the duck.
I don't mean to interrupt. It was actually Mighty Ducks
No
was a
way.
coloring book and a comic book.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
yep, I got them pulled up right now. That might be something for the Twitter later too. Some of these pictures are hilarious. But continue.
So they put a character from a coloring book on a hockey jersey. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I guess if it would be one team, it does almost in a way make sense that it was the team that was originally bought by Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you could put a cartoon character on a jersey, fine. But somebody that belongs in a coloring book, no, no.
yeah,
It's
it's
horrible. It's
something
awful.
else. Yeah,
It's
and
awful.
it's one of those things where sometimes these wild leaps of faith kind of work, but look, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna have that outlandish logo with that really never before seen setup of it jumping out of the jersey,
That's what it's supposed
you
to do.
can't
It's
just have
supposed
it.
to jump out the jersey.
If you look at it, the duck is jumping out of the jersey.
Wow,
Like,
that's creative.
yeah, it's jumping out. It's supposed to be jumping out of the like cement or the water. It's very strange. But if you're gonna go with something crazy like that, it can't be just on a white jersey.
No, that's true. That's
Like,
true.
how
That's
can you
true.
take the most boring color and put it with some crazy design? If you're gonna do that, make it some crazy bright color. Just try it. Like, it's better than what it is. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, I've seen a lot of consensus on really all the ones we've mentioned so far.
Awful,
So,
awful, awful.
um,
Anaheim,
what
awful.
is
Failure.
what is your third worst?
The Bruins. Oh,
Really?
oh, it's
Okay.
horrible. Terrible. Absolutely awful jersey. It's like they're gonna look like yellow jackets out there. I mean, I hate if you go make a jersey gold. It's such a risk of being bad, and it's like if you're gonna have the gold jersey and then the logo, the lines or whatever you want to call it that are going out the B, those are also gold. Ugh, ugh. And they also should have changed up the logo. That's an opportunity to change the logo up. They're so synonymous with that B logo that they should have just. I mean, essentially all they did was make the jersey gold. I mean, it's the same thing but gold, and it looks like a yellow jacket. They're gonna look like mustard. It's just a bad look.
Yeah, these Bruins jerseys, I don't think they're terrible, but I've seen a lot of people saying that they think that yellow it just doesn't quite work. And then, like you said, it's pretty standard Bruins. It seems like it's not doing it for a lot of people.
No, I like gold on the Bruins' first Winter Classic jerseys. I thought those were sick, and Merrimack College. But for the most part, gold is hit or miss, and it tends to be towards miss.
Okay, so the ones I have so far are Detroit at 31, Dallas at 30, and then I gotta go with Winnipeg at 29.
Really?
Yeah, you liked them?
I thought they were okay.
I just yeah. Let me pull it up one more time.
Well, on the CBS Sports jersey rankings, Winnipeg gets an F. So
Okay, so
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yep. These
it's
are gross. These are gross.
yeah. I don't like when sleeves do that. I mean, there's a lot of issues with them, but first of all, the dark gray on navy blue.
Bad.
I always thought that was a rule. Anytime you go out, your parents tell you not to put black and navy
Yep.
together, and that's basically kind of what they did. Um, I mean, I just when I see those jerseys, nothing really registers with the team Jets to me.
Well, there's a jet on it. There's a jet in the logo.
Well, yeah, I see that. I see that. It's just that these colors, they have nothing to do with the Jets, and to me, that's throwing me off a little bit.
Solid
Yeah,
point.
I just don't like the Jets. I just at least they're not white, I guess. I guess sometimes white can really go south, but these just don't do it for me. Even though I like dark gray a lot of the time, these don't do it in a way that works for me.
So I think this is my fourth pick. I'm gonna go with Hartford, the Hartford Whalers. Oh wait, no, they're the Hurricanes. Um, so they changed the Hartford Whalers jersey around. Do they not realize that they play in Carolina? Like, I get
They're
Colorado sort
much
of did
more
the same thing,
sensitive to the Avalanche Nordiques, though.
but it's yeah. No doubt about it. So maybe that's recency bias, but
Plus, I think you like the jersey more.
yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why they would change up the Hartford Whalers jersey. That to me just doesn't make any sense. It's like you can make a Hurricanes jersey with their logos and have it sort of make sense for the reverse retro. I mean,
Yep.
like you said, teams just made up jerseys. All made up jerseys. A lot of them just made something up. But it just to me it just doesn't make sense why they would revamp the Whalers jersey when they're not the
Yeah.
Whalers.
And I mean, I'm sure you're aware that for the last 2 years they've won 2 games each season with the bright green Whalers.
Yeah,
They
it's a
kind of
disgrace.
um. So personally, I'm a Carolina fan, and I don't have as much of a problem with that because they're exact replicas of the ones with the Whalers, and it's a nod to history. But
It's
I
also
also,
it's also an fu to everybody that lives in Hartford. It's
yeah, the
like,
thing
oh,
is,
remember when you had a hockey team?
right. And so, I mean, as a Hurricanes fan, it doesn't drive me too crazy because I'm down to see my team do something fun like that and try to make a splash that other teams around the league and other fans are going to notice. But a lot of people up here, particularly Jack Edwards, he did not take too kindly to this.
No, no, no.
Oddly enough, it was a former Bruin, Dougie Hamilton, wearing number 19, which just so happened to be the number of former Hartford Whaler John McKenzie, whose number 19 is retired. So, in the eyes of Jack Edwards, yeah, that was a major diss to John McKenzie and the Hartford Whalers as a whole. And one thing I think is funny is they wore them against the Bruins both time they traveled to
Yeah.
Boston the last 2 years, other than for the playoffs, which we don't need to get into. But they wear them in Boston, and the idea is so okay. Well, it's closest to Hartford, so the fans will come up, they'll see, and they'll go to the Garden to see the Hurricanes in their Whalers jerseys. It'll remind them of the good old days.
Oh
But the thing
yeah.
is, well, wait a second, isn't this the team that stole them? I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be a positive relationship, obviously, because I mean, I understand it's the same franchise, but no, no, I mean, it doesn't work like that. It had a
No.
very backwards effect, and yeah, it
It's
uh, it
it's
it was a bold move,
it's
but
an
this one,
insult. It's an
yeah, these
insult. I
Hurricanes
mean,
jerseys, these new ones for the reverse retro, going back to those, these I don't like. I don't even think they look that good to
no.
begin with. At least to me, the other traditional Whalers ones looked good.
Yeah, but I mean, wearing a jersey of the team that you used to be is like a straight up slap in the face to everybody that was once a fan. I mean, when the Indianapolis Colts play Baltimore, play the Ravens, the scoreboard won't even say Colts. It'll say Indianapolis. Every
Really
other team, it'll say the team name. But
funny.
I mean, it stings. So to wear the Hartford Whalers jerseys to remind everybody that you used to play in Hartford I mean, it's almost disgusting. It's like, are the Arizona Coyotes going to face off with the Winnipeg Jets, and the Winnipeg Jets are going to be rocking Atlanta Thrashers jerseys while the Coyotes wear original Winnipeg Jets jerseys? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, Hurricanes, stop doing it. Stop doing it.
So, as of now, I have Detroit, Dallas, Winnipeg going worst, second worst, third worst. You have, what are yours?
Dallas, Anaheim, Bruins, Hartford.
Okay. So, for me, after Winnipeg, number 4, I got Pittsburgh.
I liked
Um,
Pittsburgh. I'm
really?
realizing now I'm saying that I hated them all, and then for a few ones being like, I like,
Yeah.
I didn't like, it was all right. It was all right.
I get it's a clean look. Normally, I like jerseys that are just clean. They don't always have to be spectacular, so to speak. I just like a nice clean jersey, like BU, Boston University. I've always thought those are cool. But these Pittsburgh ones, they're just kind of bland. And then also, like I said earlier, they go with white. And I think white, you really got to have something to make it work if you're gonna go with that color, because it just doesn't look good. It's not that appealing, and those jerseys just really, to me, they didn't stand out at all, except in a bad way. And lastly, my number five from the bottom, I have Anaheim there. I mean, how could you leave them out of your bottom five? To me,
I don't know how you left him out of the bottom, too.
yeah, to me, I think I could probably I feel like maybe I was a little too harsh on Winnipeg. Maybe I'd switch them in Anaheim, but yeah, my bottom five in order, starting at the worst: Detroit, Dallas, Winnipeg, Pittsburgh, and Anaheim. After that, I had Islanders. Theirs were bad too.
They're just boring. I have the Flyers. You said you like jerseys with two colors. They've got like four.
Yeah,
It just looks bad.
yeah,
And then I have Vancouver. That
that was bold. That
yeah,
was
I
very
thought I
bold.
heard some people really liked them. I don't really get it. It sort of seems like a I don't know. It's just a weird blend of green and
I think
blue.
I think they used the worst possible logo that they could have used on that. I saw some edits using the skate logo. Also with that little Eskimo running. Have you seen that Vancouver logo?
No.
I've seen. It's kind of their old third jersey logo, but yeah, I think they could have executed those ones better. But I do, I guess, tip my cap to them for willing to go outside the box a little bit,
I
because
don't
I
know why they
guess,
just didn't make them black and orange, like the
yeah, I don't
classic
like those.
Winnipeg.
I feel like I'm the
Oh
only
no
one who doesn't
way!
like
Those things
those
are
ones.
slick.
I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't like those ones.
I don't know. I feel like that could have been a great opportunity rather than going green and blue for whatever reason. But
What if they did something just completely out of touch and went with that old V, like going all the way down to the belt line, and
yeah,
they just made it the blue and the blue and the green.
I don't know. Blue and
No,
green,
that would have
not
been bad. That
great.
would have been
Not
really
great.
bad.
Not a great color combo.
Yeah.
I mean they had that maroon one too with the sort of the cream colored V.
Yep.
That was sick. That was sick. They have I don't know. I like a lot of their alternate jerseys, and they just I don't know what the hell is going on there. But switching from a lot of negativity to a lot of positivity, we did our top 10 defensemen on last episode, and now we're going over to centers. It might have been a tougher. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, because there are just a lot of. I mean, your best player plays center. I mean, just across the board, the best guy out there should be your center iceman. So, I mean, all the game's elite players feel like play center. So, I
Oh yeah.
I I will be shocked if we don't have the same number one. I'll honestly wonder what you're doing if you don't have number one as Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Is there any debate? Is there even a debate to be had?
I remember John Buchagas on Twitter. This is one of McKinnon's big playoff games. I think, kind of just on a whim, he threw out the idea that there could be a debate. But this is
I think I
after.
saw that.
I mean, it's like it's a debate whether or not it can be a debate. Think of
Yeah,
it that
that's
way.
a good
So
point. That's a
that's
really
the
good point.
closest it gets to like we're literally, that's what we're doing right now. We're debating over whether it's a debate. So to me, that's how you know we got a solidified number one. As good
Yeah.
as the next guy is.
Well, it's like when you're watching guys play and they do something that just wows you. Sometimes you have the thought there can be nobody better, and then when you actually answer the question, well, are they actually better? The answer is always no.
Right.
It's McDavid. It's McDavid.
Yeah.
Number two, we both have the same too, and that's Nate the Great, Nathan
Yep.
McKinnon. I mean, if there was going to be a debate to be had, I kind of feel like he'd have to be the guy.
I do too.
I mean, his
And
collection of just raw speed and offensive ability, it's just
Right.
it's just off
And
the charts.
I'm not going to say where, I don't want to spoil anything. I do have Sidney Crosby coming up somewhere on this list. And what I like about McKinnon and McDavid is they don't play that kind of slow it down game. They're just going to use their speed until you can't handle it anymore,
It's
which is pretty
crazy.
quickly. And Crosby, who like I said I'll get into later, he kind of goes with that methodical approach. No, these two guys, they're smart players, don't
They
get me
are
wrong, but they
burners.
they just play at a pace that really, if it reminds me of anyone, it's Sergei Fedorov and Pavel Bure and Bobby Orr. But it's just, I think these guys, they're just a step above everybody else.
Their ability to do things with the puck and not slow down. I don't think it's I don't think of anybody who can match it ever. I mean,
No,
I can't think of anybody. The fact they're just so fast and the moves that they can make with the puck at full speed is unbelievable. So in terms of pure talent, those guys are I think they're so far ahead.
and I've read a lot on both these guys, McDavid, McKinnon, and McDavid's trainer. This is Connor McDavid. Now I'm going back to, but same deal with McKinnon. McDavid's trainer, I heard him once say, it's not just amazing how fast he can move. What's equally as amazing is that his mind can keep up with it.
Oh, shit,
And
yeah.
I think that's the case for both those guys. It just, you see some players out there that their hands or their feet, sometimes they'll move too fast for their own mind. But McKinnon and McDavid, they're so in control that it really just, it blows your mind. It's beyond comprehension.
Well said. I mean, that's the most amazing part of their game. So number
Yeah,
three,
who you got for number three?
I was just gonna say number three, the guy you were just talking about, Sidney Crosby. I mean, right now, if there's a goat of the NHL that's currently active, whose league is it? It's Sidney Crosby's,
Yeah.
and there's a reason he's why it's more than just the three Stanley Cups. I mean, this guy is just a complete three zone player. He You can put anybody on his line, and it's an immediate first line. And now that the fact that he has a legitimate sniper on the wing and Jake Gensel, he produces like 100, 105, 110 points a year, like no problem if he can stay
Yeah.
healthy. And in the biggest games is when he plays his best. So it's still, I would say it's still Crosby's league. So he's firm
Yeah.
at number three.
He is, to me, just the most established winner in this league.
Yeah,
I
no
don't know.
doubt.
I mean, it goes beyond the three Stanley Cups, as you said. He has a QMJHL trophy from when he was in junior, three Stanley Cups, a World Junior trophy, two Olympic golds, an IIHF World Championship trophy, and a World Cup of Hockey trophy. And you think about it, not only does he have all those trophies, he was probably captain of three-quarters of those teams. And he's just, not only is he on those winning teams, he is the driving force behind every single one. It's unbelievable what he does. And yeah, I mean, I read a book on Crosby, I think this past summer. I believe it was called Most Valuable. It was a great book. And it talked about at one point when Crosby first signed with his agency at 14 years old, because obviously at 14 he knew he would need an agent. He knew he was already a star at 14. He was already a Canadian icon. Maybe not an icon, but everyone, people knew who he was around the country and around the world. So he's 14 years old, and this is, I believe, maybe 2002. And he goes to skate with a lot of the guys at this camp in the summer with his agency. I believe the Sedins were there. A lot of NHL players that have signed with this sports agency. And Gretzky was there because Gretzky used to be one of their clients, and he's now an advisor. Again, this is 2002, and Gretzky hadn't skated in 3 years since his very last game. The last time he had skated was with the Rangers in his retirement game, and he's at the rink watching Crosby skate at 14 years old, and he actually went to the skate sharpening area, like the pro shop of the rink, and he's like, guys, give me a skate in a size 10 right now. I don't care what it is. Give me the skates. And they had some skates for him. He put them on, and he went on the ice to skate with Crosby for the first time in 3 years.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts? I think
Yeah.
that's
Well,
awesome because
it's telling. He knew.
game recognizes game. Obviously,
Yeah.
Gretzky
Yep.
picked up on that in a second, and from what I read, he went right to the pro shop. He's like, guys, size 10, give me whatever skates you have. I'm going out on the ice.
So we've had the same top three. Number four, we both have Lightnings, but it's a different one.
I'm sure I know who yours is now.
Mine? Well, I should say I'm cheating because I have Dylan's list. He doesn't have mine. So I number four, Braden Point. I mean, I don't know what needs to be said more about this guy. He's he's incredibly fast. He's just a good. I mean, he's a great offensive player, and frankly, if I was starting a team today, I'd want Braden Point. He's what, 23 years old, 24 years old. He was an absolute beast in the playoffs, and he's going to be a star for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, yeah. These next three that I have, again, I don't know who yours are, but these next three I had a lot of trouble with. To me, they were very interchangeable. But to go off of your point about Braden Point, I mean, he's a third rounder. The Lightning, they just have a good talent development system, and they really, I mean, this is part of the reason why they've sustained so much success, and they finally got their Stanley Cup. It's because they can grab superstars like Braden Point in the third round. And what I like about the Lightning, I don't know if you've noticed this trend. They have this weird thing where they have a superstar emerge, then he passes the torch, and then he passes the torch. So first it was Stamkos. You could probably argue St. Louis even before that, but let's start with Stamkos. First, he's the big superstar. Then gradually we start hearing a bunch about this guy named Nikita Kucherov, and you notice, like, wow, his point total is really getting up there year after year. Then bang, he puts up 128 points. Now he's the guy. And then Braden Point, not out of nowhere, but really starts producing more than what people envisioned. And now it's like they have this trio of take your pick, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point. I mean, that's ridiculous to
It
have all
is.
those guys. I mean, that's one quarter of their forwards. Kucherov, Point, Stamkos. That's incredible.
Number four, who do you got?
I got Stamkos. Like I said, these next three gave me a lot of trouble. Very interchangeable. But I just like Stamkos's production in these last few years as he's gotten older. Usually at around this time is when you start to see a little bit of tail in the production, and it looked like that was starting to come about. He had a couple years where he put up 72 points. That's solid. 64 points. That's still very good. I guess he never did that bad. But these last 2 years, he's really just gone on a bender. This year, he put up 66 points in 57 games. Year before that, 98 points. Like I said, to be able to do this as a guy now in his 30s, while debatably, even with these numbers, not being the centerpiece of the team, I mean, it's crazy. And he's done this for a sustained amount of time. And, you know, when we think of Steven Stamkos, we typically think of his earlier years where he put up 60 goals in 2011, 2012. But I'm just realizing this now. The 2018-19 season was his best year statistically. And to me, that says a lot because, like I said, now we're looking at what, 30 years old. I'm glad to see him still producing this much as he goes into, I guess what you could say, the exit of his prime.
So number
45
five,
goals too.
four,
45 goals in that year 2 years ago when he
yeah,
put up
I'm
98 points. So he's still
not
got it for
surprised.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, it's just a matter of whether or not he can stay healthy.
Yep.
But at number five, I have Austin Matthews. I think Austin Matthews took a major jump. I think the question about him was whether or not he could be a legitimate superstar, whether or not he could sort of be the carry a team, and he certainly doesn't carry the Maple Leafs, but he is without a doubt the face of the team and the best player on the team. I think this past year he's sort of played a little bit more like, I don't want to say he played more like a man, but he was a lot tougher and he's getting a lot stronger. And even though the Maple Leafs lost to Columbus in the first round, it was not because of Austin Matthews. And I think that he's going to continue to I mean, his wrist shot and his ability to put the puck in the net. He's always had that. He's always been an extremely gifted scorer. But as he gets even more strong, I think he could be a. I mean, I think he could be a. Man, I have him at number 5 in the best centers in the league. So
Right.
I think he's already a bona fide star, and I think he's gonna start winning some Hart trophies.
Yeah, when you and I joke about the Maple Leafs being such a soft team, but I don't think that quite applies to Austin Matthews.
I mean, I think it
I think it
did. I
used
think
to.
it used to,
Yeah,
but
exactly. We both said it at the same time. It absolutely used to, but he's got a pretty big frame now. And so I was listening to something Mike Babcock said probably not too long before he got fired by Toronto, but he pointed out that as great as Matthews' skill is, that, it involves scoring goals, putting up points, he thought that he had a lot of untapped potential in terms of playing a strong two-way game. And Babcock, obviously, it doesn't matter anymore. He's not his player, but he had that vision of him being one of the premier two-way players in the NHL, more like a Bergeron plus. And that's kind of what Matthews is morphing into. He's not on Bergeron's level. He will never be a defensive player like Patrice Bergeron, because I don't think that's possible for someone to focus
no.
on both of those things at once that much. But I really I like what he's morphing into, which is saying a lot because he was always a great player. So my number 5 is Patrice Bergeron. I'm sorry, did you give your number 5?
That was my number 5.
Okay, so yeah, I got Bergeron at number 5. I mean, he's just one of the premier. Just the way I described what Babcock was hoping out of Austin Matthews, Bergeron is one of the premier, if not the premier, two-way center to ever play the game. I don't think that's outlandish to say. I think it's certainly up for debate whether or not he does fill that throne as the greatest two-way player ever. And I'm just looking at the stats. He has 869 points in 1,089 games. Obviously, that's great, but what's noteworthy is most of this production has come recently. And
Yep.
you think about how the implementation of Pastrnak drove Marchand and Bergeron to be exponentially better players offensively. You can't understate it. It's crazy. And Bergeron has had all this offensive improvement while not sacrificing his defensive play. And it's evident in his plus minus these last 3 years, being part of that huge line, what many people call the best line in hockey. He's put up big points, and he's also been a plus 21, plus 23, plus 23. In his career, he is a plus 201 with a face-off percentage of 57. And those two numbers right there, in addition to his points, I mean, that's just insane to have done that over a prolonged period of time. And let's not forget, he won a cup. I'm glad he can check that box off. I know it wasn't 2011, but I just hate the idea of hardworking guys with great careers never winning a cup. So Patrice Bergeron, I got him at number 5.
Yeah, I have Bergeron on my list. I don't have him as high as you, and the reason I don't have him is because of I think sometimes his offensive game. I mean, I know you just said all the stats of why it's. Well, I mean, it's been unbelievable, but when you're on the power play that you're on, you play with Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak, you're going to get a ton of points. And sometimes I feel like, particularly in the playoffs against physical teams, Bergeron just sort of disappears offensively. And I don't know. It's hard to knock a guy for that. Well, no, it's not hard to knock a guy for not showing up in the playoffs. And I don't know, compared to some of the other guys on this list, I would hold that against Bergeron.
All right, who do you have for your number 6?
So I have Leon Draisaitl. I mean, points, points, goals, the whole 9 yards. I mean, 50 goals. What last year, and then 112 this year. I mean, those sort of speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, they brought, I mean, him and McDavid, and I mean, him and McDavid brought the Oilers to the 5th seed and to win the division.
Yeah.
So, Draisaitl, I got him at number 6.
For my number 6, this is where I have Braden Point. And I mentioned these last 3 guys being interchangeable. Stamkos, Bergeron, Point. I thought a lot about them. I had a tough time picking which one was where. But I think we already talked quite a bit about Braden Point. He's just one of the emerging young stars in this game. And he's one of those guys, he plays a quick game and he sees the ice very well. So, yeah, I got Braden Point at number 6. And who do you have at number 7?
Elias Pettersson.
Okay,
I
nice.
mean, that guy's I mean, he's awesome offensively. I mean, he led the team in plus minus. He led the team in points. He's been hovering around a point per game his entire career, and that guy just makes plays. I mean, he's garnered some comparisons to Pavel Datsyuk, the Swedish Pavel Datsyuk, and I mean those aren't light comparisons. Yeah, he's just a great player.
Yeah, he's just one of those textbook Swedish players. He plays that crafty, elusive, uh, really just deceptive game where it doesn't even look like he's skating that fast or he's moving that fast, but before you know it, you're beat. And he's always thinking one step ahead. He plays that that skilled finesse game, and he's just one of the most exciting players to watch, I think. And I think that often gets lost in translation. Is being the best, I don't think necessarily means you're the most exciting. I don't have, for example, I don't have Matt Barzell on this list because I don't even think he's a center, is he?
Yeah, he's a
But
center.
he is a center. Well,
Yeah,
regardless, I think he is one of the more exciting players to watch. I just love the way he plays, and I would definitely put Pettersson in that category. Just real fun to watch, real exciting style.
yeah, no doubt. He's a very exciting player.
So for my number 7, I have Eichel.
Yep.
Uh, his name's Jack.
Ha!
Um,
Thanks
he,
for clarifying.
yeah, he, I mean, he's just developed into such a great player. He's so powerful. He's he moves up the ice so efficiently. His strides are so long, and he doesn't even look that tired out there because his feet don't even move that fast. He just has those long, powerful strides. You could see it even when he was becoming a superstar in the U.S. National Development Program and then went on to BU. That stride's always been the same, so unique. That's why I compared him to Cale Makar on our last episode. They're just two guys who they could be out there in blank jerseys, no name or number, but I would know instantly who they are, just solely based on the way they skate. Another thing I like about Eichel is he's now been in the league for 5 years, and his points per game have increased incrementally every single year. He has yet to take a step back, and I mean that really sums up the way he's been since he was first put on the map as a teenager. He's just really blown away people's expectations year by year by year.
Yep. I have Eichel at 8, so pretty good segue. That was a good summary of Eichel. Um, I know you're number 8. We've talked about. No, is there anything you want to add on Austin Matthews?
Yeah, so I got Austin Matthews at number 8. Um, I have, I often have this debate internally, Eichel versus Matthews. I think it's a good debate to have. They're the two American prodigies drafted in consecutive seasons. I think in a way they'll always be kind of, looked at in that rivalry kind of setting. But yeah, I just have him a hair behind Eichel. Really, we're getting into the nitty gritty with this
Yeah.
because centers are, I mean, like you said, centers are almost always the best player on the team. That's just the way it works. It's not always the case, but it's usually the case. So to break down these centers, top 10, we're really kind of splitting hairs, but I do have Eichel. I have Eichel at 7 and Matthews at 8.
I mean, yeah, we're splitting hairs. So at 9, I have Bergeron. I told you I had Bergeron at 9 versus higher up where you had him. So I don't need to repeat myself. So who do you got at number 9?
So I have the guy that people have been comparing to Bergeron in recent years. It's Alexander Barkov.
Yep, have him at 10.
Okay,
So
I like
you've
his
segued me into the last two.
Yeah, I just really like his trajectory. I just spoke about how Eichel has improved incrementally every year. Barkov's really done the same thing. When he came into the NHL, this is back in 2013. He was always a solid two-way player, but in a way his stats are almost like Bergeron's. He put up decent points, and then he got a little bit better, and then he just exploded in 2017-18. For the first time, he was 1 point behind a point a game, 78 points in 79 games. The following year, 96 points, and then last year 62 points in 66 games. So really, he's been hovering around a point a game recently, except for that 1 year, 2018-19, where he put up 96. I just love that in combination to what he brings defensively. One thing that stands out is he's played his whole career in Florida, and he's a plus 32. That to me is pretty impressive. I mean, they're not a good team. In his time, they have not been a good
No.
team. And he was a plus 18 1 year. So I mean, plus minus, there are some debates over whether or not it's a worthy stat. I know you like it. I usually like it. I like it if it's consistent. And in this case, I think Barkov's eye test plus the points, the plus minus, it all amounts to a real solid center for me. So I got him at number 9.
Yeah, I mean he's a him with playing with Jonathan Huberdeau is a criminally underrated line,
Yep.
and they have a legitimate gripe that they're the best line in hockey. So,
Oh, yeah.
2019 Lady Byng Award winner. He's just a really, really solid player. So he's my number 10. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, you did mention that. Okay, so that concludes your list, right?
Yep.
All right, so my number 10, we already spoke about him, but it's Leon Draisaitl. I mean, I think 10's a good spot for him because I think he's still isn't necessarily as complete as a lot of the other guys on this list, but the season he had this past year, the abbreviated season, he was on pace to tie Nikita Kucherov's point total from the year before, 128. He got 112, but he was on pace for 128. And that would have been the most points in my lifetime. It would have tied Kucherov for the most points in my lifetime. I believe you got to go back to 95. Yager and Lemieux put up some ridiculous 140 something point total. But yeah, that season that Draisaitl put up this past year, it wasn't unprecedented in my lifetime because, as I said, Kucherov put up a similar season the year before. But I could not leave Leon Draisaitl off this list after what he did last year.
No, I mean you can't. You can't. So just going over my list, I got McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Braden Point, Austin Matthews, Draisaitl, Pedersen, Eichel, Bergeron, and Barkov.
All right, and mine is McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Stamkos, Bergeron, Point, Eichel, Matthews, Barkov, and Draisaitl. So I think both of our lists,
They're pretty similar.
and obviously, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we were to put these online, I mean, you know how that goes. Everyone has their own opinion, but I don't think
I'd
there's
run a
any
campaign for them to vote for me.
yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anyone too out there on either of our lists. There are
I
no
don't think so.
real bold dark horse picks.
Nope.
Those are interesting, but I think both of ours are pretty reasonable.
Yep. I don't know if you have any honorable mentions, but just real
Yeah,
quick.
Pedersen.
Yeah. Real quick, I have. I was gonna. Sorry to interrupt, but I was gonna go.
I just
That's
I
it,
was
Pedersen.
I was talking him up earlier. As I said, I think he's definitely, although he'd probably be number 11 on this list, but to me he's up there around number 1 for the most exciting. I wouldn't put him over McDavid or McKinnon, but I just love the way he plays the game. It really makes you want to turn on the TV.
Yep, that's true. So my honorable mentions: Mark Scheifele, point machine, Mika Zibanejad. I mean, unbelievable year. Sean Couturier, who's slowly becoming the second best two-way forward in the game behind Bergeron. Then I got Ante Kopitar. He gets sort of lost in the shuffle in LA, but he's pretty good two-way forward. He puts up a lot of numbers, so I think that he's destined for the Hall of Fame. So on last episode, we talked about a little bit about the World Juniors, the controversy surrounding Owen Power. Like we said, there's going to be so much talent in that tournament, on that stage. But what about, could it be the game with the most ever talent assembled at one time? Of course, I'm talking about the 1987 Canada Cup, which I don't know if I'd ever hype up anything Canadian, just because that's how we American hockey fans are. But Dylan, are you Canadian, by the way? I don't even know that.
A good portion of my family is my dad is more Canadian. His mother was born in Canada, so
Okay. So yeah,
yeah.
I'll leave all the. I'll
My
leave.
grandmother's Canadian. She's an OG Canadian.
Sweet. So I'll leave the Canada stuff to you. So what was the 1987 Canada Cup?
So the Canada Cup was pretty unique. For those who don't know, the Olympics used to have a kind of a difficult format where it was amateur only. So there were really very limited chances to see the world's best players all on one stage. Particularly the one people would look forward to was the USSR and Team Canada. There was the 1972 Summit Series, which could be a good topic for another episode, but really there weren't nearly as many opportunities to see all the best players on one stage as people wanted. And so that's where the Canada Cup comes in. It was kind of a sporadic tournament. It was held on 5 occasions. It wasn't one of those every 2 years or every 3 years thing. They just did it whenever they could. So they did it in 1976, 1981, 1984, 87, and 91. So the tournament was won by Canada 4 out of those 5 times, with the Soviets winning once in 1981. But the 1987 tournament is the one that really stands out because if you look at the rosters in this game, it's hard to put into words. So first off, let me get into the Soviets. People know how good they were. They were widely considered the best team in the world, other than possibly the Canadians. They would come over, they'd play NHL teams all the time, smoke them. Everyone knows how big of a deal it was when the 1980 U.S. Miracle on Ice team won. That's one of the greatest moments in sports history, and it wouldn't be such a great moment if that Soviet team wasn't so strong. So most of their players couldn't play in the NHL just because of the way that the Iron Curtain was set up at the time in communist Russia. But they did have a few. They had Slava Fetisov. He won a few cups with the Red Wings as part of the Russian Five. Alexei Kasatonov, Igor Larionov, who won cups with the Russian Five as well, and Sergei Makarov. So other than those 4 guys, a lot of them are still unheard of. It's that whole Iron Curtain thing. It's because they couldn't play in the NHL, but they are definitely considered one of the greatest teams ever. Team Canada, I'm just going to go down their roster. This is going to blow your mind, Tim. Dale Hawerchuk, Mark Messier, Mike Gardner, Glenn Anderson, Kevin Dineen, Brett Sutter, Rick Tocchet, Doug Gilmour, Claude Lemieux, Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Doug Crossman, Craig Hartsburg, James Patrick, Ray Borg, Larry Murphy, Paul Coffey, goaltenders Ron Hextall and Grant Fuhr, coaches Mike Keenan and John Muckler. So the top line consisted of Gretzky and Lemieux, and can you ask for anything more? To me, that I remember watching McDavid and Matthews play together at the World Cup of Hockey, and I thought that was just a gift from God. But Gretzky and Lemieux on the same line. It happened in this tournament. The power play was Gretzky, Lemieux, Hawerchuk, Bork, Coffey. I think that's probably the strongest power play ever assembled.
Ever imagined?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they should have. It's crazy. It's like, can you deny a penalty just so you can give up a goal and just say, all right, we'll call it even?
Yeah.
But anyway, naturally, the final was between the USSR and Canada because that's just the way it was always going to work. And it was an unbelievable 3-game series. That's how they did it. So the first game, the USSR, they actually won. They won game 1 6-5. Second game, this is crazy. It was another 6-5 game. It ended in double overtime on a goal from Mario Lemieux, assisted by Gretzky and Mike Gardner. One of the bigger goals in international hockey history. And lastly, guess what the score of the last game was? 6-5. 6-5, yep. 6-5 win for Canada in Game 3 off of yet another goal from Lemieux, assisted by Gretzky with just 1:26 left. So, that power play is really what stands out to me. Gretzky, Lemieux, Hawerchuk, Bork, Coffey. It's hard to even fathom that amount of talent in one game. And then you combine that with the fact that they were playing the star-studded Soviet Union that people had heard so much about but seen so little of. I mean, that's just one of the great moments in hockey history for me. I think it goes under the radar, but I would love to see a tape of that game start to finish.
Hey, well, the internet's a wild place, so maybe you'll get it one day.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode. If you made it to this point, thanks for listening. Before we go, Dylan, you got anything you want to say?
I've just been pretty caught up with these reverse retros. Other than that, there hasn't been a ton of news going around, but yeah, I'm
Not a lot of professional news. There's a ton of college news.
Yeah,
Oh my
true,
God.
exactly. That's more your area. I've even been keeping up with some of the European leagues a little bit. That's my own nerdy thing that I do, but yeah, no, nothing too crazy going on. I'm just real tired of hearing about their return to play plan.
Yeah,
It's,
I've put something in place.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what you're gonna do and all.
Yeah,
As fans, we want it, and we want it now.
right. And plus, everyone thinks they're an expert on that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it happens. Everyone
a good
thinks
point,
that
too.
they know. Everyone thinks they know what they talked about at the last league board meeting somehow, which is weird because they weren't there. And it's like how everyone's an epidemiologist now because of Corona. So
we'll be discussing both coronavirus and the return to play on next episode of Puck Buds.
awesome.